Real power does not scream. It whispers. It does not beg for attention, but instead commands it without making a sound. In a world full of noise, status, and show, the most dangerous person in the room is not the loudest one. It is the person who remains calm, careful, and impossible to read. This is the heart of Machiavellian wisdom. Violence is loud, but intelligence is quiet. While others act out in anger, panic, or try to get attention to prove they are strong, the strategist does none of those things. He watches, he listens, he plans. When he finally moves, it is not to be noticed. It is to end the game before it truly starts. Those who shout often show their fear. Those who make threats reveal their weakness. But the person who stays emotionally neutral, whose very presence changes the feeling in a room, holds the true power. Machiavelli understood this well. He knew that physical force might win a single battle, but psychological invisibility wins the whole war. When you no longer feel the need to prove yourself, you move in a different way. You do not react to insults because your silence makes those insults sound foolish. You do not declare war out loud. Instead, you let your enemy fall apart while they wonder what you might do. This kind of power is not built in the spotlight. It is built through restraint. It comes from self-control, patience, and the skill to see 10 moves ahead while everyone else is just reacting to the moment. Real strength is about staying stable inside while chaos happens all around you. It is about knowing that the strongest energy is not the one that burns hot and fast, but the cold, steady force that lasts longer than anyone else. To have this level of control means becoming someone who cannot be touched, not by being mean or cold, but by refusing to let emotions rule you. You learn to use silence like a sharp tool. You let your calm make people feel uneasy if they mistake your stillness for weakness. Most importantly, you understand that the most powerful person in the room is not the one who yells. It is the one everyone watches in silence, wondering what is on his mind. That is not bullying by force. That is winning through mastery. Once you take on this mindset, you no longer have to fight for respect. You simply become someone people would not dare to challenge. In any fight, the truth matters less than how things look. Perception is everything. The battle does not start with fists or weapons. It starts with the story being told, the image being shown, and the narrative people believe. Machiavelli knew that people do not act on facts. They act on what they see. He wrote that men judge more by what they see than what they feel, because everyone can see you, but very few truly understand you. That is why the first rule in any conflict is clear. If you control how things look, you control the result. When you look strong, calm, and steady, even if you are struggling inside, others will hesitate. That hesitation is your chance. It does not matter who is right or who is stronger. What matters is who looks like they are in charge. Those with a Machiavellian mind know how to act under pressure. They stay still when others panic. They smile when they are threatened. They do not interrupt. They let the other person speak first and then turn those words into a weapon. In this game, looks are not shallow. They are strategic. The person who controls the story shapes the battlefield. In business, politics, or personal fights, the most balanced person often wins just by staying calm. If you look emotional or unstable, even the truth will not help you. But if you look focused and detached, even lies can work in your favor. This is not about being cruel. It is about placing yourself strategically in a world that values appearance over reality. You do not have to overpower your opponent. You only have to look like you cannot be touched. Let them look messy while you stay quiet. Let them argue while you respond with stillness. In a world where so few can control themselves, those who do appear almost superior. When you control how you are seen, you control how you are treated. In a confrontation, that is more powerful than any weapon. In any struggle, facing someone head-on only creates more resistance and shows where you are weak. But changing the environment where the fight happens changes the game completely. Instead of forcing someone to change, the strategist changes the space around them. They shift the conditions until the other person's next move becomes easy to predict. This is the core of changing the environment. You do not fight against a person's nature, but you change the rules of the game so their choices fit your plan, almost as if they are acting naturally under new limits. Think of it like moving pieces on a board. You might not remove an enemy, but you can move the walls and close off their paths until every choice they have is a bad one. When deadlines change, resources run out, or friends leave because of quiet changes, it is not force that wins. It is the slow, careful change of the conditions. Every business deal, political move, and personal rivalry is won by those who know that controlling the surroundings is better than trying to change an opponent's mind. Rather than fighting directly, which only makes emotions high, you take control of time, space, and tools. Changing meeting times, shifting budgets, or taking away their support systems are all moves meant to break their rhythm. You tire them out before they even know what is happening. When you change how a situation looks, you force your enemy to follow new rules, which often leads them to make mistakes. By focusing on the outside world rather than the messy thoughts in someone's head, you create a controlled space where your pace decides the end. This is not just playing defense. It is building a stage where your enemy has no choice but to act in ways that help you. Success here is not measured by a loud victory, but by changing the environment so that every decision made within it helps you. Sometimes, the most dangerous move is to look harmless. In a world that likes to see power, the biggest threat is the one no one sees coming. Machiavelli knew that a hunter who makes noise too early warns the prey. But the one who looks weak or plays the fool makes everyone else drop their guard. That is when the trap is set. Pretending to be weak is not the same as being weak. It is mastering the art of trickery. It is letting your enemy relax and underestimate you so they show their plan. This is not being a coward. It is smart warfare. It is knowing that a small, precise cut goes deeper than a heavy sword. Machiavelli wrote that a leader must be both a lion and a fox. You must be strong enough to destroy and smart enough to trick. When you pretend to give up or apologize, do it without losing your goal. Let them think they have won. Let them get arrogant because being too proud makes them blind. In that blindness, you find your advantage. Your power grows through control, not through lashing out. You are not running away, you are setting the stage for a much bigger move. The true masters of conflict do not win through emotional outbursts. They win with quiet timing. The moment of greatest power usually comes when it is least expected. When they think you are defeated or disarmed, that is when you strike. You do it precisely where it hurts most and where they cannot recover. When done right, the opponent never even sees the war start. They only see that it is already over. To act weak is to use humility as a weapon. It is staying underestimated until it is too late for them to react. In that time, you take control of both the clock and the result. You do not just beat your enemy, you let them walk right into your victory. If you must have a confrontation, finish it completely. Doing things halfway is not being kind. It is inviting them to hit you back later. A hurt enemy is much more dangerous than one who is finished, because pain leads to an obsession with revenge. Machiavelli warned that if you let an opponent keep even a little bit of pride or power, they will come back stronger and ready for payback. The only way to end a fight is to leave no path for them to return to power. This is about survival, not cruelty. Since people rarely forgive being embarrassed, you must choose to finish the matter or face the results later. Destroying something completely does not always mean physical damage. It means psychological finality. It means cutting off their influence and taking away their tools. In personal life, That might mean walking away and cutting all ties without saying sorry. In work or politics, it means removing the opponent and their help. The goal is to stop it from happening again. Unfinished fights do not go away, they get worse. Power needs quick decisions. When you wait, they plan. When you show mercy, they learn your habits. When you settle for a middle ground, they grow stronger in the dark. But when you finish it without drama or emotion, you send one clear message: there will be no second round. Let them fear the silence that follows your move. Make the example so clear that no one else wants to test you. The best fight is the one that never needs to happen again, because no one has the heart to continue it. This is not for your ego, it is for your peace. Those who cannot be touched do not leave doors open. They act once with perfect aim and never look back, because they know true victory comes from making sure the enemy cannot return. True fear does not come from loud threats. It comes from what a person thinks when they are alone. Machiavelli knew that the best way to control an enemy is to let them face their own shadows. Instead of yelling, you stay silent. In that quiet time, they start to see what they fear most, themselves. This is not about noise. It is about creating a feeling so strange that they doubt their own safety without you doing anything. People fear not knowing what will happen more than a direct fight. When you do not answer, they fill in the blanks with their own worries. When you let them wonder what you might do, you use their imagination as a weapon. In that doubt, fear grows faster than any threat could. Let your silence be louder than their words. Let them think too much about every quiet moment. Let their own minds defeat them before you ever have to act. Machiavelli did not just say to be feared, he said to let others believe you are capable of things they would not want to test. That is the smart part of being a psychological mirror. It reflects their own guilt and fear back at them. In a world that reacts to everything, your stillness is scary. Your mystery becomes your power. You do not have to terrify them yourself. You only have to let them terrify themselves. Because when fear comes from inside, they cannot run away from it. This is how real power works. Not through force, but through being invisible. You win because the human mind, left alone in silence, becomes its own judge. That is how those who are untouchable win, not through loud destruction, but through quiet suggestion. In a world where everyone wants things now and reacts quickly, patience is a superpower. Machiavelli knew that time is not something to waste, it is a tool to be used. Wise people do not rush into a fight, they wait and watch. Time does what a sword cannot. It wears people down and shows their mistakes. Most people want revenge or control right away, but being in a hurry leads to mistakes. When you act on a whim, you play by their rules. But when you slow down, wait, and pull back when they expect you to push, you control the pace. Controlling the pace means controlling the end. Let them be angry while you stay silent. Let them think they have won while you simply wait. While they waste energy trying to get a reaction out of you, you are watching them make mistakes. An enemy who thinks you are weak because you are quiet will become too confident, and being too confident makes them blind. That is when time works for you. Patience is not just sitting around, it is a very purposeful act of power. It means you have mastered yourself before you try to master others. It means you traded the quick thrill of hitting first for the certainty of winning last. Machiavelli did not always move fast. He let ego and bad choices destroy his enemies from the inside. Then, once they were tired, he moved cleanly. When you move slower than the world, you see more than the world. The person who can wait is the person who lasts long enough to lead. A lonely enemy is a weak enemy. Machiavelli knew that before you strike, you must isolate the target. The real danger is not just one person, it is their friends, their help, and their momentum. As long as they have people around them, they are brave. But once they are alone, they start to doubt themselves. Isolation is the start of a perfect move. You do not win by running straight at them. You weaken them by slowly taking away their support. You create doubt in their friendships and tension in their groups. Soon, the people they rely on start to leave. One by one, they lose their help and their confidence. When your target starts to wonder why no one is standing with them, you have already won most of the fight. They will feel weak and open, and that is when you move. You do it with the focus of someone who waited for the floor to break beneath them. In the game of the mind, isolation is the tool that cuts the deepest. You do not need to embarrass them, you just need to make sure no one is there to help them when you act. A fight in a crowd is messy, but a fight in silence is controlled. Let others call it cold, but this is how power works without making a mess. You do not have to destroy their name, you just take away their influence. You pull the thread until everything they built falls down. When it is over, people do not remember the fight. They only remember that the person disappeared without a backup plan. That is how you win without lifting a finger. In life, you will not always win by being the loudest or the fastest. The true edge belongs to those who are quiet and in control of their feelings. Power is about where you stand, not just being the boss. You do not need to answer every insult with fire. You do not need to win every small argument. You need to master yourself first. Watch without reacting and only move when you are sure you will succeed. Whether you are dealing with a hard relationship or work problems, the message is the same. Patience protects you, and silence is your power. Do not let your feelings become a weapon for someone else to use against you. Learn to isolate problems and control how people see you. Let time show how strong you are. In a world of noise, your calm is your best tool. Move quietly, think many steps ahead, and never give people more of your time than they deserve. The more focused and steady you are, the harder you are to hit. That is more than just a plan. It is how you survive. To truly master this path, you must accept that the final stage of power is total self-reliance. Machiavelli understood that depending on the loyalty or kindness of others is a gamble that most people eventually lose. People are fickle. They follow you when the sun is shining and abandon you when the clouds gather. Therefore, the ultimate strategist builds a fortress within themselves. You do not seek validation from the crowd, nor do you look for approval from your peers. When you are truly self-sufficient, you cannot be blackmailed, you cannot be coerced, and you cannot be controlled through your needs. This level of independence is terrifying to those who live for the praise of others. It gives you the freedom to walk away from any deal, any relationship, and any conflict that does not serve your long-term vision. The art of the exit is just as important as the art of the entrance. Many people know how to start a fight, but very few know how to leave one without leaving a trail. True mastery means knowing when a victory has been squeezed for all it's worth and moving on before the tide turns. You do not linger to gloat. You do not stay to collect trophies. You vanish back into the silence, leaving others to debate your methods while you are already preparing for the next era. This is the mark of a person who is not just playing a game, but owning the board. By the time they realize you are gone, you have already reshaped your world again. Finally, remember that the goal of all this restraint and calculation is not just to win, but to be free. The world is a web of distractions, emotions, and traps designed to keep you small and reactive. By adopting the mindset of the silent strategist, you step outside that web. You become the observer rather than the victim. You realize that most of what people fight over is temporary and shallow. Real power is the ability to remain untouched by the chaos of the world, to keep your mind clear when everyone else is blinded by fog, and to move with a purpose that only you understand. Once you reach this level, You aren't just winning battles. You are living on a level that others can't even perceive. You become the ghost in the machine, the steady hand in the storm, and the only person in the room who truly knows the end of the story. To reach the highest level of this mindset, you must embrace the truth that your greatest strength is the ability to walk away. Most people are trapped by their own desires, their own ego, and their own need to be right. They stay in losing battles because they are afraid to lose face. But the true strategist has no such weakness. You do not care about looking like a winner in the short term. You only care about the final result. If a situation no longer serves you, you leave. This lack of attachment makes you dangerous.